For decades, modern warfare revolved around mass. More tanks, more artillery, more firepower stacked closer together. But one weapon quietly flipped that logic on its head. A system so mobile, so precise, and so lethal that it forced entire armies to rethink how they fight, move, and survive. This isn't just artillery. It's strategic leverage on wheels. Today, we're breaking down why HIMARS changed modern warfare forever and why its impact goes far beyond the battlefield. If you want more deep dives into modern weapon systems and how they actually shape wars, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. For most of modern military history, artillery has been about volume. Whoever could put more guns in place, fire more shells, and sustain fire longer usually held the advantage. Accuracy mattered, but mass mattered more. That model worked when wars were slow, lines were static, and logistics could keep up. But modern warfare doesn't look like that anymore. Battlefields are transparent. Satellites watch everything. Drones hover constantly. Large concentrations of forces don't intimidate the enemy anymore. They invite destruction. This is the environment where HIMARS thrives. HIMARS, the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, didn't just improve artillery. It fundamentally changed how artillery is used. Instead of sitting in fixed positions and trading shells with the enemy, HIMARS operates like a hunter. It moves fast, it strikes hard, and it disappears before the enemy can respond. At its core, HIMARS combines three things that rarely exist together in artillery systems: mobility, precision, and range. Each one is powerful on its own. Together, they are devastating. Mobility is the first major shift. Traditional rocket artillery systems are heavy, slow, and logistically demanding. They require prepared positions, large crews, and time to set up and fire. That makes them vulnerable, especially in a battlefield filled with counter-battery radars and drones. HIMARS throws that entire concept away. Mounted on a wheeled truck chassis, it can drive at highway speeds, relocate rapidly, and operate with a small crew. It doesn't need hours to prepare a firing position. It can roll up, fire, and be gone in minutes. This mobility alone makes HIMARS difficult to kill. Enemy forces don't have the luxury of tracking a static artillery line. By the time they detect a launch, HIMARS is already moving. But mobility without accuracy would only solve half the problem. What truly sets HIMARS apart is precision. Modern HIMARS munitions use GPS guidance to strike targets with extreme accuracy, often within just a few meters. This means fewer rockets are needed to achieve the same effect. Instead of saturating an area with dozens of rounds, HIMARS can destroy a target with one or two. That precision completely changes targeting priorities. Command posts, logistics hubs, ammunition depots, bridges, air defense systems. Targets that once required airstrikes or massive artillery barrages can now be destroyed reliably from long range. And that brings us to range. HIMARS can strike targets far beyond the reach of traditional tube artillery. This allows commanders to attack critical enemy infrastructure while staying outside most counterfire envelopes. In practical terms, it means HIMARS can shape the battlefield before ground forces even make contact. Range also creates constant psychological pressure. Enemy commanders are forced to assume that no rear area is truly safe. Supply routes become vulnerable. Command nodes must constantly relocate. Morale suffers when soldiers realize precision strikes can arrive without warning. Nowhere was this combination more visible than in Ukraine. When HIMARS entered the conflict, it didn't just add firepower. It rewrote the rules. Russian forces relied heavily on large ammunition stockpiles and centralized command structures. HIMARS turned those strengths into liabilities. Ammunition depots once considered safe were suddenly within striking distance. Command posts coordinating entire sectors were destroyed with pinpoint accuracy. Supply chains slowed. Operational tempo collapsed. Morale dropped. What made this even more damaging was how difficult HIMARS was to counter. Russian forces struggled to locate launchers. Even when they suspected a firing area, HIMARS was rarely there long enough to be targeted. This forced changes in behavior. Supplies were dispersed. Command posts move constantly. Units spent more time hiding than fighting. Combat effectiveness declined. HIMARS also empowered smaller forces to punch far above their weight. Historically, long-range precision fires were the domain of major powers with dominant air forces. HIMARS changes that equation. With accurate intelligence and targeting data, small units can now deliver effects once reserved for air campaigns. This democratization of precision firepower is one of HIMARS' most important strategic impacts. It lowers the barrier to effective long-range strikes while raising the cost of poor planning and static defenses. Another often overlooked strength of HIMARS is its integration into modern command and control networks. It isn't just a launcher. It's a node in a larger battlefield system. Target data can come from drones, satellites, radar, or forward observers. That data is processed rapidly, allowing near real-time strikes. This shortens the kill chain dramatically. In modern warfare, speed matters as much as firepower. The side that can detect, decide, and strike faster gains the advantage. HIMARS excels in this environment. It also reinforces a broader shift in military thinking. Effects over occupation. Instead of holding ground through sheer presence, HIMARS shapes the battlefield indirectly. By degrading logistics, command, and morale, it creates openings for maneuver forces to exploit. This doesn't make tanks, infantry, or aircraft obsolete. It makes them more effective. When enemy systems are disrupted, ground forces face less resistance and air assets operate with greater freedom. HIMARS is not a silver bullet. It depends on accurate intelligence, secure communications, and logistics support. Without those, even advanced systems lose effectiveness. But when used correctly, HIMARS represents the future of long-range fires. It embodies the shift away from brute force and toward precision, speed, and adaptability. Large static formations are increasingly vulnerable. Precision strike systems reward mobility, integration, and smart targeting. Future conflicts will continue moving in this direction. HIMARS didn't invent this concept. It perfected it. In many ways, HIMARS is less about rockets and more about philosophy. Not overwhelming force everywhere, but decisive force exactly where it matters most. That is why HIMARS didn't just improve artillery. It changed modern warfare forever.